تقوم في جنوب السودان.
The Dawn on iRadio.
Right, a very good morning to you and welcome to the third hour of the Dawn edition here on iRadio. It's the extended hour of the Dawn for today, and it's Wednesday, the 5th of November 2025. My name is Emmanuel Joseph Akile, and it's now 17 minutes after the hour of 7. Now, in the third hour of the Dawn, we're going to talk about very important global observance, which is the World Food Day, celebrated annually on October 16. Now, the day serves as a reminder of our shared responsibility to ensure that every person has access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. Now, this year's theme is better production, health, nutrition, and a better environment, and also a better life for all. Leave no one behind. Now, in the context of South Sudan, where communities continue to face recurrent food insecurity and also the effects of climate change, today's discussion is both timely and also urgent. The national celebration was initially planned for Bor Jungle State, but then due to security concerns, it will now take place right here in the capital, Juba, on the 11th of November at MDI. Now, this morning we'll now have more conversation about this and to shed more light about the significance and importance of this day. I'm joined live in the studio by two guests. I have with me in the studio Mr. Bernard Wadi, who's the head of program of the UN's WFP, that's the World Food Program. Also have with me in the studio Ania Okinchit, who's also the country director of World Hunger Health. Sorry, you can correct me later with the pronunciation. Ania, that is the WHH from Germany. It's good to have both of you with us in the studio this morning. Welcome to iRadio. Welcome.
Thanks so much. Good morning.
Yes. Mr. Bernard, let me start with you. Tell us, how is the UN's WFP supporting vulnerable communities across South Sudan now to ensure access to sufficient and also nutritious food here?
Thanks so much for the question. Just as World Food Program, we do provide for the assistance to the very most vulnerable members of the community. And our support is along the lines one through a market not functional, and these locations are primarily within the Greater Upper Nile, but also we do provide cash where markets are functional. The cash and vouchers are provided to the most vulnerable members of the communities. The cash is not only, it does not only give the beneficiaries opportunity to buy food, but it also has a catalytic effect on the economy of the local communities, and therefore goes a long way in enhancing the production at the local level. We also do support the malnourished children, pregnant and breastfeeding women that are malnourished. We do provide them with specialized nutritious commodities that is primarily geared towards the treatment of malnutrition, as well as being involved in the preventive programs to prevent them from being malnourished. But as I said before, we also do recognize that some of these communities and by the way, the whole of South Sudan, ultimately we have to build their resilience. They have to do their livelihoods, and we have to strengthen their food systems for them to be able to produce, for themselves. But also, lastly, we are also involved in working closely with the government, supporting them in whatever ways possible through the policies, through the development of strategies that are geared towards supporting the food security systems.
Right. And now talking about the issue of communities have to build their livelihoods, how best can this really be achieved from your view?
Building their livelihoods and supporting their resilience can be achieved in several ways, and WFP uses a number of ways to actually achieve that. And I'll just start by mentioning that WFP is supporting through the schools what we call school feeding program. And school feeding program is not just as a safety net. We know as a safety net, it helps the children when they go to school to increase their attentiveness, to improve on their earning capacity. But more fundamentally, we've seen where we do provide school meals, enrollment of children in schools goes up by somewhere between 10 and 20%. Now, educated children are likely to have viable means of fending for their livelihoods, and basically education is the cornerstone of any society. So we believe by supporting school feeding, it is not just it serves to support the children in terms of supporting their immediate hunger, but it has also the long-term impact, which then goes into building the resilience of the society, building the resilience of South Sudanese. Equally related to that is the work that I did mention, the long-term resilience and food system support. Here, we are supporting smallholder farmers, linking them to the market, supporting, for example, in post-harvest land handling. We know in South Sudan, when farmers do have their produce, in some cases up to 40% is lost through the post-harvest losses. And therefore, we work with the communities to cure that. We also work in climate resilience actions, and here we've been focused on rehabilitating degraded ecosystems, supporting, for example, we are talking of Eastern Equatoria, the Capoeiras, where we've had droughts, also fueling conflicts. What we've done is to work with the communities, build ponds where, most of the fight is around water. So we support in building ponds where the locals can get water for their animals, and that has an impact of reducing the conflict.
Right, and that brings me to you, Ania. Tell us. How does Welthungerhilfe or WHH really address challenges such as food insecurity and economic hardship, looking at the community level, for instance?
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for the question. And we are working hand in hand with WFP, so my answers will not be so different. But what we do at WHH in general, we work under the framework of food systems, focusing on several aspects of the food systems, like food production, storage, market system development, including the related services like transport, processing, or roads construction, but also consumption. So increasing the nutritional values of the food, not only on the household level, but also the school level through the WFP school feeding program. What we do is we support the smallholder farmers to improve agricultural production, climate sensitive and good agriculture practices. For example, piloting new and adapted crop varieties like cassava, rice and sweet potatoes in many of our locations. And we want to mitigate through that the crop failure and diversify the dietary needs of the households. We also support the extension services, capacity building through the training of the community extension agents like lead farmers, establishing farmer field schools, and also working directly with the Ministry of Agriculture on the state and county level through engagement of the extension workers from them. But we have to understand that sustainable food cannot be attained without addressing climatic shocks, and that's why WHH globally, but also in South Sudan, invests in climate resilience work. For example, like conservation, agriculture, sustainable resource management, agroforestry, community early warning system under WHH Anticipatory Humanitarian Action Facility. We conduct climate vulnerability assessments on the county level, so that that we can guide the partners on appropriate programming in those locations, and to minimize the impact of climate change on food production. Yeah.
Do you see any impact in terms of the outcome of the support or the resilience program that you've been conducting?
Absolutely, and one of the locations that we work, Mayom and Unity State, is the model case that proves the concept of resilience building, and this is what Bernard already said, that this is the key. So within 3 years, together with WFP, we have reached the point where the communities who were fully dependent on food aid are producing the food for self-sufficiency and also selling the surplus on the local market. And now we are supporting them to undertake the processing and value chain addition. And we hope that within the next 2-3 years, we will be able to support them to the extent that they will be selling the food to the locations where the food is not accessible. So this is a great example that whatever we are talking about is possible. So the exact numbers here are that they were producing 2-3 bags of, for example, sorghum or cereals, and now it's up to 10 bags per harvest, which is great. But what also we see is that the reduction of post-harvest loss through the improved infrastructure. For example, we are constructing seed banks, aggregation centers, and then what we see is that communities are farming now on the areas that have been reclaimed from the flood. Like in Unity State and Rupkona County, there is a huge effort jointly implemented by IOM, WFP and WHH to actually move the farming activities to those areas. We also,
Right. And Bernard, let me come to you. Tell us from the WFP side, what specific initiatives are being really implemented through, especially the school feeding programs to improve child nutrition, also education outcomes?
No, thanks so much for the great question. One, through the school feeding program, as I said before, we do provide nutritious commodities for immediate use, which then cures the hunger that they have and therefore allows them to be attentive in school. But in the long run, we also working with the school-going children to demonstrate that agriculture can be done. This we do through the school gardening. And we also connecting the schools to the local farmers so that they can, the schools can be able to procure what they feed their children from the local farmers. This is a system we typically in WP called the homegrown school meals, with the food being produced within the local communities. Equally so is working with the local communities, sensitizing them with the right nutrition knowledge on how to produce nutritious foods. We've worked with women, we've worked with mothers in group so that they can be able to learn how to first to grow the foods, but more importantly how to use that food better in a more balanced diet. And we've, as she had said, we've seen some improvements in locations such as some parts of Arab. We've seen malnutrition rates getting better. We are continuing to work in generally the food systems, the support that she did talk about, the growing of crops, for example, rice production in a wheel that we work jointly with them at household level, but also the production of vegetables and the fruits that are critical for the well-being of the children. In nutrition, we are also working in the nutrition prevention activities, promoting the healthy diets, as I said, promoting, working with the local communities to sensitize them on the hygiene issues that affect nutrition. And therefore, we as WP, working collectively with partners, we do approach them not just from a one solution perspective, but we do recognize that it is the collectivity of the different programs that ultimately will make a difference in the people's lives.
Right, and Ania, I want you to tell us how have communities really benefited or experienced change through your interventions, and especially now the support that you also together with the WFP, but from the WHH.
Thank you so much. Yes, I already talked about the Mayom example. So this is, I would say, something that we would like to implement or replicate this effect to other locations. We see, I also mentioned about the reduction of loss, post-harvest losses. What we do also, we work directly with women. It's the household level gardens or small farms. And we see that in the areas that previously there were very little, and still are. It's not like a significant change. The change doesn't take overnight. The production of the green and fresh vegetables, and then you can see those vegetables on the market available. And it's not the vegetables that have been imported from other parts of South Sudan or from outside of the country. The example from Mayom also, builds the expectation and our ambition. We would like to ensure that in the mentioned 3 years from now, we will be able to also procure the food for other locations from the locations that have been successful, like Mayom.
Like the locally produced food from within.
So we don't have to bring the food from Uganda or from Kenya or from outside of the country or from Eastern Equatoria. We know that there is a heavily restricted access by road, especially during the rainy season, but not only. The infrastructure is very poor. So this would not only increase the income opportunities for the local population, but it will also, it will energize the whole market. And there are some comments that the food that is produced, or the seeds that are produced in the country, it's more expensive than the ones that are being brought from outside. However, we really have to think about, not only how to subsidize, but how to, make the economy work better, because the economic crisis is terrible here, and that we only see the decline, despite the fact that we have been working here as the humanitarian community for so many years. So we would like those effects for the community to be even more visible than those pockets, of the people, communities that we work, for example, with the VSLA, when specifically women are saving the money and then they are able to establish their own businesses. They feel financially, economically empowered because they are self-sustainable, right? They can send kids to school. The kids are getting the food there through the school feeding program. So it's just, it's a whole bowl that is rolling, and we need to have as many actors together with us as possible, because we cannot achieve the change
Right.
working in a silo.
Right. And do you see any do you see, like, based on the observations, that people are willing to learn, or let's say to cope up with the situation in terms of especially women, to continue with agriculture instead of us really South Sudanese relying on imported foods? But then how best can the environment really be conducive for them, so that they can be more encouraged and get more support from, for instance, WHH, so that they can invest more in locally produced food items here in the country?
I see that it's been change. I don't know what, Bernard, you think. Maybe you can share your thoughts about that as well. But from my perspective, I know the community where the heavily reliant on the food assistant dependent, to the point that there is this perception that this is something that I'm entitled to, right? But I see the change. There is more and more communities that we work in, also in the locations that are heavily affected by flooding, for example, in Panijar. People want to be able to produce. People want to be able not to wait for food. But also another aspect of that is that the aid, the resources for the aid are diminishing. We are observing the budget cuts across all the partner countries, donor countries, and we also have to. This is our effort as well. After so many years of constant assistance, that we have to now increase the need for being self-resilient, reliant, right? So I see that it's changing. I see that through good practices and the community members observing the potential opportunities that are in farming. It's great. Of course, we know that not everyone wants to be a farmer, but then this is what I said about all the services around farming, like processing, transport, trade. This is also something that is part of the food system.
Right. And Bernard, she earlier talked about the issue of the economy and what the country is facing. I also want you to talk about some of the challenges the WFP really faces, especially when you deliver food assistance in hard to reach, or let's say conflict affected areas here in the country.
Thanks so much, Emmanuel. Maybe just allow me to say one statement on
Indeed.
what you said, just a follow-up. I think there are good efforts happening and we are seeing changes, but it's still a long way to go. You know probably better than me that South Sudan population has faced a number of challenges, and therefore food insecurity has been quite high. That said, over the last, say, 5 or so years, we've seen some good changes. For example, I can tell you that in Magui, parts of Yambio, we are already procuring food through concerted efforts that I talked of, the smallholder farmer supports, linking them to the market, and basically assuring them that when they produce, it will not just rot, it will be taken up. And so we've seen ourselves producing. We've also seen where we have and we work with them very closely to open roads, to open the infrastructure, because one of the biggest challenge in the country is the infrastructure, the poor infrastructure. And when we do that, we've seen also along those roads marked with some improvement in the development. It also informs why then as WP we no longer provide the humanitarian food assistance in Equatoria except for the refugees, and with that we've seen that improvement. But that said, the fact that South Sudan has faced a number of challenges for so long, it requires concerted effort by everybody. We have we need to have a mindset change for people to also begin owning their lives and not basically waiting for support to come. Now, let me go to your question on the challenges we are facing, and I'll start with, I'll just mention 3. Let me talk of access and security challenges. We have serious challenges with access, especially in the conflict-prone locations. As I talk to you now, counties such as Nasir, parts of Ulang, and even Fangak, we've had major challenges in for us to deliver the assistance because of the conflicts. Of course, we cannot endanger the staff, not just WP staff, but all the humanitarian staff when there is active conflict, active exchange of fires. So we've had our assistance blocked because of the conflict. We cannot move. We've also had challenges in basically able to reach those affected populations. The populations are displaced in those locations. Actually, that informs why in mid this year it was already projected that locations such as Nasir, if not supported, could easily plunge into famine. We've had we also have a bigger challenge related to the poor infrastructure in the country, and that makes the delivery of our assistance very expensive. We all know that the delivery through road network is much cheaper, but because of the conflict, because of the infrastructure, we are forced to use very expensive air delivery systems that are like 10 times as expensive as using roads. We also then majorly use rivers, and rivers with the conflict and the blockages that that affects the delivery of our assistance. But equally more fundamentally, and just want to highlight it this way, over the years, South Sudan has been getting quite substantial assistance from donors. The funding landscape is declining. But that said, ultimately, the responsibility of supporting the communities in South Sudan lies with the South Sudanese government. We also know that the South Sudanese government, the oil revenues went down. There have been economic challenges. So there is also a challenge with the government not able to allocate more to feed the people. And that therefore means a lot of the support provided has to be from other donors, which also then are equally asking, but what is the government doing? So those are some of the challenges, I said, just to mention three, but there are a number of challenges that we are facing, especially with regard to funding, with regard to access and security, and the poor infrastructure.
Right, bringing us to about 15 minutes now to the top of the hour. It's now time to pick a few calls. If you have any questions or comment to our guest in the studio, it's now time. You can dial 0911 or 22986 or send a text to 13986986. Remember, also live on our Facebook page. You can also drop your comment there. بنتكلم في موضوع بتاع اليوم العالمي للغذاء. ده طبعا كان في الشهر اللي فات، وده مناسبة عالمية بالغة الأهمية واحتفلوا به سنويا في يوم 16 من شهر 10. وبذكرنا اليوم ده بمسؤولية المشتركة في ضمان حصول كل أفراد على غذاء كافي وكمان آمن. والشعار بتاع السنة ده هو إنتاج أفضل، تغذية أفضل، بيئة أفضل، وحياة أفضل للجميع. وده اللي احنا بنناقش فيه. وفي جنوب السودان هنا بنتكلم في موضوع التحديات اللي بتواجه قطاع بتاع الغذاء وخاصة الزراعة. ضيوف بتاعي من منظمة WFP وكمان برضو من منظمة بتاعت WHH من ألمانيا وجرمانيا. Radio? Yes, revert back to us on 0911 or 22986.
راديو لأخبار الموزون اللي تكون بيتمت فوقه من كل جنوب السودان ومن برا جنوب السودان. أسمع تكون لأي راديو أنا تكون في جنوب السودان. iRadio for reliable and objective news from across South Sudan and beyond. Tune in to iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. iRadio
for news you can rely on from across South Sudan and beyond.
Right, welcome back from the break. Now let's pick calls. Radio.
Emmanuel, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
David from Wow.
David Magog from Wow, welcome.
Let me welcome your guests in the studio, and we would like to appreciate program for really helping South Sudan from the time of liberation until the time of independence. I have a few questions for them. Number one, as you will provide food all the time, why not for you to provide education so that you train the people, the farmers, of how to cultivate for themselves, and you talk to the government to bring total peace in the country so that the citizen of this nation can be independent, and instead all the time to be supported by well food program. Now in other places where there is insecurity, it becomes well food problem because it doesn't reach them. This is number one. Number two, when we come to the distribution of the assistance, I mean the seeds, there are other areas or the other farmers, they do not get seeds so that they can cultivate a good food for themselves, and even to be informed of how to prepare seed for themselves so that they can store for another year to cultivate. When are you going to do that? Or do you think the South Sudan as a whole country will rely on a well food program for life? Thank you.
All right, thank you, David Magog, all the way from Wow, for your questions. And let's pick one or two more calls before we can come back to our guest in the studio and respond to the questions. You can dial 0911 or 22-986-986. لو عندك أي سؤال للضيوف بتاعنا في الاستوديو من المنظمة الألمانية وكمان برضو من منظمة الغذاء العالمية المعروفة ب WFP.
Your eye on South Sudan. iRadio. Your eye on South Sudan. iRadio.
It's the break of a new dawn, and this is the dawn on iRadio.
Right, welcome back from the break. اتصل علينا وقدم سؤال بتاعك ترفع مكالمتين بكل اختصار قبل ما نرجع للضيف بتاعنا في الاستوديو ونختم فقرتنا بتاع الليلة لبرنامج الدون. وده طبعا موضوع بتاع الغذاء. أي سؤال عنده علاقة بالزراعة والغذاء وكمان الدعم اللي بيجي من منظمة الغذاء العالمية أو من المنظمة المعروفة ب WHH التابعة لألمانيا. Hello Radio. I think the line is breaking there, so let me pick this one before we can come back. Hi Radio.
Hi Emmanuel.
Yes.
صباح الخير لك وصباح الخير لضيف الماس في الاستديو.
نعم.
يلا أنا بشكرهم شديد معك بخيتة من واو.
بخيتة من واو، ويلكم.
أنواع بتاع الزراعة ده هو فعلا ومنظمة ده ما قصر. كان في الزراعة هم ما قصروا قسموا حاجات بتاع الزراعة لناس في السودان. يعني أنا بشكرهم شديد. يعني أنا بقول لأننا الجنوبيين ديل نتابعوا مع ناس المنظمات دي هم ما قصروا بمساعدة لناس في جنوب السودان، لكن هم يكونوا قليبهم فاتح ويعملوا لناس سلام عشان كده عشان ناس يزرعوا. في ناس ما عندهم زراعة دارين يزرعوا، لكن زول يمشي بالزرع في كلا بخوف. فيها مشكلة بتاع الجنوبيين يا إيمانويل. عشان كده ناس بمشوا في الزرع ده بمشوا بخوف، جوا كلا ده بخوف. لكن أنا بتمنى هم ناس منظمة ده، أنا بتمناهم شكرا لهم خير عليهم فيه. أنا بتمناهم يكون كبير أكبر من ده، عليه بسيط ده ويكون كبير خير كبير. وأنا بقول لناسنا الكبار كده قليل يدخلوا السلام لناس في واو في السودان عشان الناس مش يزروا، كان عيال كان أولاد كان شباب كلهم يمشوا.
أوكي، أراد بخيتة. شكرا جزيلا بخيتة. راديو.
الو.
يس.
رئيس سلطان ماما ماريا.
ويلكم. تفضل.
إتانو إيمانويل ولتا كلام الكل بونسو ده كلام ده كله سامي، لكن أنا داير في جنوبيني أنا داير كل سكيورتي بيكون في amni de kuli kunsa amni kan junub Sudan te je hasa uko tayari tala kande uko tayari binia tay amni de tamam nas der jira Emmanuel nas der jira nas tabani lakin nas bekaf ita bera yani je asara mail de ita bekafu Emmanuel ita mutum ba mu akil kita sibula gade akil nigitu ita geja tala santa bejibu de halas hadidita bisulu akil de minita ita bejaina au ita buaga besakadeli ita bemutu laanu ita kan kalasi akil kala ita gejibu le iyan dika kalasi lu minna ita bekun taban kalasi ta ayan den na der kolu junubinde wahidu badu kolu man jibu salam kolu man sibu kalam ta masakil sunu de kolu man gale ya jama mali saja linna gamul de junubin tan na de biga tabani nas tan na de kulu biga tabani kolu na jibu salam asan nas na jatu mader akela lige biya Emmanuel woleta na der na be jar le nubsa tanna anna ya be kurgin na be tala akela li seme tamam ayan be kunna pita ba kulu akela li al set ma akela lige biu mikin na jata ninde jatu mader ke lige ni sabayom ya
okay
sabayom be jibini be timu arbata sarayami ta ga kulu ya mikin be jibu amran le nas lakin kan amni tanna be ta sa sika ta yeyide sika ta morobo sika ta wen kullu hajatam na ba kulu akela le tamam na be kuni tagle akela le ke biu ma brusu ay dan bas der amni ci jinu Sudan olumun sebo karaya olumun sebo belba batale olumun jibu salam le junubin asanna der jira asanna ba shukran
Shukran jazilan Mama Maria. Mama Maria is adding her voice to that of Bakhita from WOW. These are regular callers, and Bakhita was commending the partners, WFP and also the partners, for continuing to support farmers. She's saying thank you for that. She also talked about the issue of security in the country. Which was echoed again by Mama Maria, saying that what we need is lasting peace in the country, peaceful coexistence, unity, reconciliation. And if security is maintained, and especially that one goes to the government, then we can have our own food. We can produce fresh food here instead of relying on food being imported from other countries. South Sudan has a vast land and fertile for agriculture. So I put the two comments or the concerns from Bakhita and Mama Maria. Magog already asked in English, talking about the provision of support and something for the farmers. So yes, we have about 6 minutes. Let me start with you, Bernard. You can comment.
No, just very fast, and thanks for the callers. Let me start with the WOW, the comment from WOW. You couldn't have said it any better. I think you're right. Ultimately, South Sudan has to be able to produce for themselves, and that is what will make a difference. You did talk of, teaching people, working with the schools. And in my presentation, I started by saying, even when we are talking of education, school feeding, in schools, we are accompanying it with school gardens. But not only school gardens, WP is moving to what we call homegrown school meals, which then means the communities are the ones producing for the schools. So we support the schools with cash and they produce from the communities. That is a way of providing market for the local farmers to be able to produce. You did talk of the seed production and seed provision, and we're working as the UN but also as partners, including in emergency support, where the FAO provides seeds. But maybe fundamentally what I wanted to say, and this is what Mama Maria and Bakhita did say, ultimately what will make a difference here is for to restore peace and security. We can do all that we do, but so long as security is not guaranteed, disrupts the whole population. People are get displaced and they cannot be able to produce. We may not be able to achieve more. And that is what equally is demonstrated in the analysis that is coming up. The most food insecure with the highest levels of vulnerability are in the counties where we are still having active conflicts. Now, the production or even the schooling that we are talking about will only work when there is a level of security. And so as partners, we are working with the government. We are complementing what the government is doing, and we are working on the production. I did just say that as WP, we are moving from the humanitarian food assistance, and we basically removed all humanitarian food assistance from the equatorial, most parts of Greater Upper Nile, Greater Bargazal, and a lot of our humanitarian assistance is in Greater Upper Nile, and the reason why is because of the ongoing conflict, which does not make any meaning pursuit of livelihood happen. And so I couldn't have agreed with the sentiment said anymore. I think they are up to the point, and we all just need to work, including the communities themselves, to have that mindset change and start producing for themselves.
Right, thanks for that. Yes, let me bring in Ania, if you would like to add something, especially the part of someone giving thanks to the partners, and of course WHH is one of the partners supporting the country. And this also brings me to a question that I would like you to talk about later, and briefly about the WHH priorities for the coming year here in South Sudan. Yes, Ania.
Thank you very much. Let me address the first question first, because I also feel this was brought up during the high-level panel discussion on food systems in protracted crisis that the WHH organized together with Swiss Development Corporation. That we can talk about food systems, but it will be difficult to like how to strengthen the food system. But it would be difficult to achieve when the conflict is still ongoing in the country, the peace is not stable. And one of our priorities in relation to that is to engage as many youth as possible in the farming activities and all the system that the support services, as I said, because we would like to show the alternatives for engaging in the combat for any reasons, and the benefit of farming is the sustainable income, employment opportunities, etc. So I think that resilience building remains the core priority for WHH for the upcoming year and beyond. We are just revising our strategy right now to match the global strategy, which says zero hunger on healthy planet. So currently we are also including the soil health topics in our agenda. However, our role is also to support the government in the whatever developments there are. So I know that the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security vision is the food and nutrition for all South Sudanese. So this is where we also want to contribute, and we work closely with the government. We have the signed MOUs with several ministries, but also we support the government at the state level, and so this is our role, right? As it has been said, we cannot substitute for the government, right? But we can support them to make sure that the policies are in place, that the systems are working. So that's how I see the role of Welthungerhilfe.
Right, running out of time. Let me come to you, Bernard. What will be your last message as we conclude our interview, and also looking ahead, something like strategies that the WFP looks at as key in supporting South Sudan journey towards sustainable and also climate resilient food system?
No, thanks so much, Emmanuel. Just in summary, I've said that repeatedly, but we are here to support the government. Ultimately, the responsibility of feeding the people of South Sudan, is with the government. But as we also, discuss talking to the government, we also appeal to the communities that it is not the food assistance that WP and other partners provide that will pull the South Sudanese out of the challenges of food insecurity. It is the communities themselves taking it upon themselves to start building their livelihoods. And as partners working with the government, that is what we would be glad to continue supporting. So as WFP, we will continue to support the very extremely vulnerable that, if not supported, may deteriorate further. But equally, more importantly, looking into how to work with the different communities, especially where we have relative security, so that they can start producing and fending for themselves, or getting involved in other livelihoods opportunities that are available within those communities.
Right. Nia, finally, on behalf of WITH, what would you say as we wind up?
Yes, so I would absolutely agree with Bernard. We have to work hand in hand with all partners to build the resilience, to ensure that people are self-reliant, and that the government can meet their core mandates, which is to provide the services to the population of the country. So we are here. We are here also, trying to see how we can best evolve, right, to fit the purpose, to meet the needs of the changing needs, the changing context. We are fully aware of the, as I mentioned, of the changing funding landscape, and we need to learn ourselves how to provide more support for less, and how to make sure that the communities are graduating fast.
All right. Thank you very much, Ania Okinchis, who's the country director of Welthunger Hilfe, or WHH, and also thank you, Bernard Wadi, WFP head of program. Thank you both for joining us on the Dawn today. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Right. With that, we've come to the end of the extended hour of the Dawn edition for today. Join us again tomorrow morning at the same time to get the latest on what's happening in South Sudan and beyond the borders. Up next, soundtrack show with Dico Andrew. On behalf of the Dawn team, Paulino Althea, One Moses, and producer Dico, this has been Emmanuel, Joseph Akile. To have a good day, stay safe, stay blessed. We meet again tomorrow. I leave you with a song from Emmanuel Kembe. It's about agriculture. Let's all cultivate. Zaman takuruju ja.